Welcome back to Founders and Funders, our UBS series with women entrepreneurs, and our conversation with Ellen Marie Bennett. In part one, we talked about Ellen's journey building her business and how she's grown it into a multi-million dollar company. Now we want to talk about the evolution of the business and what it may look like, and Ellen's book that came out earlier this year, Dream First, Details Later, How to Quit Overthinking and Make It Happen. Okay, Ellen, let's jump back into our conversation.
Let's do it.
Let's start with your book. Why did you want to write it, and what are your hopes for the book?
I really wanted to show people how there's another way to build a company, and it's not just the traditional way you see in maybe a Fast Co or an entrepreneur magazine. There's so many small business owners out there in the world that feel lonely and don't know how to do it. And I wanted to really give them something where they felt, okay, there's another way to do it. And that way is just leap in, begin, get on the road and learn from the journey instead of having some crazy business plan, millions of dollars in the bank and everything else. And I break it down so vividly in the book, and it's extremely colorful and vibrant, but it's also amazingly raw and honest. I don't sugarcoat the journey. I don't talk about how amazing every single minute is and how everything was just rainbows and butterflies. It's actually a tough path, and you should know that those are parts of the journey. As I like to say in the book, they're not bumps in the road, they are the road. And you don't just go around them. They are part of the experience. And every time you fail, you're learning a ton. So the book is for the dreamers, the doers, the hustlers out there that want to know, I can do this too. And my hope is that once you read through it, you get to the other side and you say, let's go, let's try this, and stop worrying about everything that could happen and instead just show up and begin.
As part of that, as part of talking about your wins and your losses, you talk about not letting analysis paralysis set in.
Yeah.
What has been your process in making key strategic decisions, whether it be personally or for your company?
Well, at first there was no process. The process was try, fail, bleed, get up, wipe it off, try again. That was really a lot of the process at the beginning. But as we've evolved as a business and as a company, I've surrounded myself with people that understand parts of the business or are experts at certain parts of the company that will complement my skill set. And so I turn to them and I turn to advisors, and I really am willing to say, I don't know that. I don't know how to do that thing. Can you help me? And asking questions and being curious, because if you lose your curiosity, it's just like, it's not helpful for anybody. And saying you already know something when you don't actually know is just, you're cutting yourself short and also the growth of your company. So being willing to get advice and to hear it. And also something I love to do is always follow up and say, hey, that one thing you helped me with, it was really valuable. Thank you for that information. Guess what I did? I did X, Y, and Z. And then that person feels committed to you in an even bigger way because they actually contributed and they made an impact. And that's really all people want to do, right? They want to help you be better. So I always like to share whatever experience I had with the advice I got. And then people are just like, yes, I will help you more. And there's actually a whole chapter in the book called Commandeering Your Co-Pilots, where I break down how I found amazing people and how I use their advice to kind of propel the business forward. And it's just a lot of humble enthusiasm, being like willing to listen and also willing to share versus being like, I got it all figured out. Everything's great over here. We're so successful. And you're just like internally dying, right? I don't do that. That's not for me.
That is great advice. And I want to go to a quote that I read in the book that I liked a lot. When you get somewhere, head to the next somewhere and never stop repeating the cycle. It's one thing to become successful. The next part is keeping it, maintaining it, and making it evolve. So what are the next steps for you and for Hedley and Bennett? What are your goals and what are you doing to actualize those goals?
Yeah, such a good question. As I go into my 9th year of business, I can't even believe it. It's like almost a decade. How crazy is that? I started it when I was 24 years old. I'm 33 now. And it's been a wild journey, but I definitely am like, okay, we got to here because of many pivots and shifts and changes and evolutions, and listening when things worked and recognizing when things didn't. And I think that in so many ways, COVID last year for so many people was a wake up, and it was a wake up of, hey, things are not perfect in your own business. What can you trim? What can you shift and adapt and cut and streamline? And we let go of a lot of things that we used to do that were just status quo, what we did. And so now it's all about, doing less better for the organization and focusing on the things that are actually driving growth forward versus doing it because it's always been done or it's a cute thing that we used to do or whatever, right? And that was hard. It was hard to let go of some of that stuff, the legacy things. But if you don't let go of those and you're too stuck in the ego of like, well, that's how we did it, you literally can just let your business crumble. You see these huge companies not evolving because they have their ways and they're stuck in them, and that's just not good for business. So it's letting go of what doesn't work anymore and throwing that playbook out the window. That's one huge thing. And recognizing that times change and businesses either go up or they go down. And you better be recognizing if your business is going up or if it's going down, and pour water on the plants that are growing. Don't pour water on the plants that are not growing. So as the business grows, we're really leaning into the direct to consumer channel. And we just are so excited about all the home cooks out there and the fact that we've been able to impact thousands of restaurants nationwide. And we outfit some of the best chefs in the world. And we're on every major show on TV. Having anything to do with food is so exciting for us. But we see a whole other world within the kitchen. There's, hard goods, there's other materials that can be played with. There's just a whole universe of being able to teach people how to cook and feel awesome doing it and have that confidence and not feel like, well, I'm not a professional, I can't do that. So a lot to come from Hedley and Bennett land, but it's an exciting time. And it's just like proof is in the pudding. We began as a made to order apron company for restaurants only. And now we've fully evolved into this completely different business. So don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to evolve into the next thing, because that's where it gets exciting.
Well, you mentioned legacy from a past and from an old perspective, but let's look at it from a future perspective, because it's an important topic that our clients consider. Yeah. But for many entrepreneurs, it may not be top of mind while in the thick of things. Right. Looking towards the future, what is the legacy you want to leave, and how might you be working towards that now?
In so many ways, and it's such a good question. When you're in the weeds of things, you're just looking at what's right here, right now. But fast forwarding, I think about myself and Hedley and Bennett, and I am just so thrilled to be able to be, one of the women out there representing a Mexican heritage, right, in the United States, being part of that small pile of people that hopefully is growing, right, where you make it over multi-million-dollar business size, and to show people that you can do it in a way that is not just the VC path or the private equity path from day one. You can actually grow it the old school way. And I love that. And I am, and forever will be excited to inspire other entrepreneurs and other people out there to take that leap and to try and to show up and to fail and get back up again, and to hope that gives inspiration to others. So that is a huge part of what I hope my legacy is. And I also just want to help people be able to feel awesome in the kitchen. Like, that sounds so simple, but if you think about, my childhood, the biggest shift I saw was in the kitchen with these families. It was like a family in the US and a family at home. Everything starts around food. We all eat. So if you can empower people to eat well and to eat healthy and to know how to cook, you're really helping them change their life. And Hedley and Bennett is like your sidekick in the kitchen. So for anyone and everyone listening, if you hadn't heard of our company, you better go look us up right now and get on the bandwagon, or as we like to call it, the apron squad, and wear Hedley and Bennett when you're cooking, and do it with pride. And if you don't know how to cook, awesome. We welcome you even more, because we're going to help you get there.
That's great. Well, that leads me to my last question, going back about supporting the next generation of women business owners, and how can you be, and how can other business owners be intentional about that support?
I think it's about being really honest on the hardships of business and not just kind of sugarcoating it and saying it's easy and, well, it just kind of happened and I happen to know somebody who introduced me. Sharing the challenges is important because when people don't hear about the challenges and they only hear about the successes, they think that they're on the wrong path when they're failing. And that's just not true. So, half my book is about all the failures I had along the way to help people realize like, hey, good work. You're on the path. It's going to get bumpy. Yep. That giant bump you just banged up against, that's part of the journey too. And so sharing that with others and being honest and candid. I think also just being willing to pave new pathways is really important, not just as women, but as humans, like doing things that are different. And even if people are saying that's weird, that's dumb, oh, I don't like that idea. Like how many people told me that I having an apron company was sweet and cute and charming and little when I began. And yet now it's a multi-million dollar business that I'm so incredibly proud of the team and the growth that we've had. But it took me ignoring a lot of naysayers. So reminding other women to remind the next generation, ignore the negative, focus on where you're headed and like put your blinders on and just get to it, make it happen.
Thank you. We could go on, but I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much, Ellen, for sharing your story and your insights.
Absolutely. I always love talking to you guys. Thanks so much for having me, Vanessa.
Absolutely. I'm going to turn it back over to James Jack to give us a preview of our next program.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, Ellen, for joining us today for our 5th episode of Founders and Funders. To our viewers, I hope you can check out Ellen's new book, Dream First, Details Later. And don't forget to check out the Founders and Funders playlist. And stay tuned for our future conversations. You can save the Founders and Funders playlist to get updates automatically right here on UBS's YouTube channel. For those looking for more UBS resources on financial planning and wealth building, as well as resources to support women and business owners, we strongly encourage you to speak with your UBS financial advisor or visit ubs.com/women and ubs.com/business services for the latest resources and information from UBS. Thank you again for placing your trust with UBS and your financial advisor teams. Be well.